mode.
Hello everyone, this is Jillian Buchholz, the STARS Program Coordinator at AASHE, and I'll be facilitating this webinar with you today. Today's webinar is STARS Looking Back and Moving Forward, and it's hosted by AASHE. As many of you know, AASHE's mission is to empower higher education to lead the sustainability transformation. We provide a huge collection of online resources and networking tools, educational events such as this webinar, and an annual conference which will be coming up next October in Los Angeles. AASHE members include over 20% of the 4,000 colleges and universities in the United States, as well as institutions in Canada, Mexico, and other countries. For more information about AASHE, please visit the AASHE website, www.aashe.org. Please note that this webinar is being recorded, so if you experience technical difficulties or have to leave early, you and others can view this recording later on. Presentation materials will be posted to the STARS website with a video of the webinar shortly after the live broadcast. Everyone in the audience is on mute, so the only way to communicate with the panelists is by typing your questions or comments into the questions pane in the control panel on your screen. Feel free to type in questions or comments at any point during the webinar, and they'll be addressed during the Q&A session after the presentation. Due to the influx of questions, we may not be able to answer every question that is submitted. If you feel your question is not addressed, you can email it to stars@aashe.org, and a staff person will get back to you. I should also note today that this webinar will be giving a brief overview of the highlights that have taken place in the STARS program throughout the past year, and we'll touch a little bit on what will be happening next year in 2012. That being said, because this is really just an overview webinar, we might be taking less than the 60 minutes that's scheduled. So with that, oh, sorry about that. All right. So again, welcome everyone. I will be presenting on this webinar as well as Megan Faye-Zahnizer, the STARS Program Manager. I'll talk a little bit about what's going on in STARS regarding highlights from 2011, some things happening with the STARS data displays, and some educational components. And then Megan will take it from there to talk about some technical development, our international pilot, and what's happening while we'll be moving forward in 2012. And then after that, we'll take Q&A from the audience. So make sure to have your questions ready. And just as a reminder, you can type questions at any time into the control panel on your screen. So 2011 highlights. This slide gives you an overview where registration and submission numbers were at the beginning of 2011 and at the end of the year. We're pretty happy with how the numbers have risen over time, and these numbers might even be a little bit out of date since we put this PowerPoint together about a week or so ago, so the numbers probably have increased since then. We've had 186 STARS reports. 186 STARS reports are expected to be submitted in 2012. We may get more than that based on how many institutions submit, and some we do anticipate will be submitting early. Also, the number of registrants is expected to increase in 2012, especially because of some significant enhancements to the STARS technical manual and reporting tool, which Megan will discuss later in this webinar. It's exciting to see how these numbers have increased, and we look forward to working with new institutions participating in STARS as well as renewing institutions over the next year. So the STARS data displays. As many of you know, the STARS data displays are a tool that can be used to filter out information from several STARS reports based on specific characteristics. You can gain access to the STARS data displays through the STARS website. Simply go there, stars.aashe.org, and click on the STARS institution link in the toolbar at the top. That will take you to the dashboard, and then on the dashboard you'll see what looks sort of like virtual file folder tabs where you can click on the different displays that we have available. There are 3 different STARS data displays: the category display, the score display, and the content display, all 3 of which were launched in February 2011. All of the data displays are accessible to STARS participants. However, AASHE members may access the category and content displays, but not the score displays. I should mention, too, that the dashboard is publicly available for anyone to view. You don't have to be an AASHE member or a STARS participant to see some of the information that we have there. Also, the original filters, when we launched the STARS data displays back in February of 2011, we had just a few filters. You could filter out data by organization type, whether it was 4-year, 2-year institution, that sort of thing, or by STARS rating, pulling information out of STARS reports from all STARS Gold institutions or all STARS Bronze institutions. But we've added quite a few enhancements to the data displays regarding filters, and the new filters are listed here. Essentially, now you can filter out information in institutional STARS reports by AASHE membership, also by STARS participant, of course. STARS pilot participant is a new feature, as well as PCC signatories, those institutions that are signatories of the American Colleges and Universities President's Climate Commitment. And then you can also filter out information based on full-time equivalent enrollment, student full-time equivalent, and then of course by country, U.S. and Canadian institutions. So just moving forward here, I did want to touch a little bit about education. AASHE has developed different types of educational programming to help institutions learn more about the STARS program. Two of these types of educational programs are webinars and conference sessions or workshops that we hold at conferences. AASHE hosts monthly webinars focused on different topics of the STARS program, and like this webinar that you're participating in now. All of the presentations from the live broadcast, including videos of the webinar, are posted in the news and events section of the STARS website. Again, if you go to the STARS site, stars.aashe.org, that toolbar at the top of the page has a news and events link, and once you go there, you can see all of the webinars we did in 2010, as well as all that we've done in 2011. So I encourage you, sorry about that. I'd encourage you to take a look at those and, just review the sort of things we've been doing with different institutions, different topics about STARS over time. Webinars do highlight our STARS participant institutions, and usually on the webinars that we give that aren't really focused on AASHE initiatives moving forward with STARS, we highlight institutions so that they can share their approach with institutions like yours on how they're completing different aspects of the STARS program. We try to get as detailed as possible and also give a diverse view of different information or different institution perspectives so that you can get a lot of information and data from various schools all across the country, all different sizes, to help you move forward with your data documentation. Also, this year, webinars also highlighted STARS technical advisors and partner organizations. So not only are we bringing in our STARS participant institutions to share their perspective on STARS, we're also starting to bring in STARS technical advisors and representatives from our partner organizations so that they can give you a different perspective on STARS and how it's moving forward and how they're involved and what their roles are. Based on attendance, webinars that are specific to the STARS subcategories have been the most popular. And if you do have thoughts on the specific topic you would like to see covered in a webinar next year, please email stars@aashe.org. We want to do webinars that we think our audience will find useful. So if you're interested in being a presenter or do have a specific topic you'd like covered, please let us know, again, by emailing stars@aashe.org. The STARS program was present at several conferences over the past year. Either AASHE staff attend these conferences or STARS participant institutions attend and share their experience working on STARS. Again, if you're interested in potentially representing the STARS program at a future conference, please email us and let us know. We're always looking for folks to collaborate with. Sessions at conferences include general education presentations on AASHE and STARS, as well as more in-depth programming like workshops. And just a short list here of some of the different conferences that we've been to over the past year. And I did mention that we do, some STARS 101 presentations, but we also try and dive into a lot of detail, particularly with our workshops. And I do hear a lot of people asking when will another workshop be available and that sort of thing. And we do keep all of our events up to date on the STARS website, stars.aashe.org, also in that news and events section that I listed earlier. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Megan so she can share some additional information with all of you about STARS. Take it away, Megan.
Thanks, Jillian, and thanks to everybody for joining us today. As Jillian mentioned in the beginning, this really is just meant to be an overview of the work that we've done this year, but it's really interesting that in what we're covering in, I don't know, a dozen slides and in maybe a 20 or 30-minute presentation, is really not a good indicator of the work that went into all of this. I mean, all of these different projects we're talking about really represents, I'd say, thousands of hours of work on behalf of the STARS team. But it was an interesting sort of project for Jillian and I to take a look at really what we had accomplished this year. And I think that the pieces that I'm going to be speaking to, governance, technical development, and a few other programs, are really sort of an exciting aspect of what we spent a lot of time on this year. So with that, the slide up here now speaks to our governance structure. STARS actually has a pretty extensive governance structure: technical advisors, steering committee members, partner organizations, and of course what isn't included on the slide is the AASHE Board of Directors. Obviously plays an important role in the STARS governance structure. So some interesting things and sort of developments that happened throughout the course of this year as it relates to governance are we grew our technical advisors. So at this point in time, we probably have about 70 technical advisors that support the work of trying to identify improvements to the STARS credits. All of our technical advisors are divided up based on the subcategories within STARS. And again, each of these different groups of people, all of the different technical advisor, what we call work groups, have about 3 to 5 people involved in them. And again, they're focused on a specific subcategory. They meet on a regular basis and again are trying to identify ways that we can improve the credits in STARS. The governance structure, really all of the different aspects of the governance structure sort of represent this idea that STARS is on a path of continuous improvement. So what you see right now with STARS is not what you're going to get necessarily in another year. We want to make sure that not only STARS is continuing to raise the bar, but we're sort of addressing and sort of incorporating what's the latest and greatest within the sustainability field. So with that being said, our technical advisors really play an integral role because these technical advisors, of which we appointed probably about another 10 in late last spring, are subject matter experts. And again, they're representing all of these different subcategories in STARS. So we have diversity experts, we have energy experts, we have faculty members, a whole assortment of different individuals that are really helping us to, again, identify those significant improvements for STARS. As it relates to the steering committee, our steering committee meets on a monthly basis with the exception of maybe a month or two over the course of the summer when a lot of folks in higher ed are out. But the steering committee is really the decision-making body for the STARS program. And what that means is that the technical manual, which is sort of the how-to guide in terms of what institutions need to know to complete STARS, the steering committee has approved all of the content within the technical manual. So when I say that the steering committee is the decision-making body, it really relates back to all of the technical aspects, so the content of STARS. The technical advisors are simply that. They are advising the steering committee as to what they think should be changed within the program. So the STARS steering committee, again, meets on a monthly basis. We discuss various proposals as it relates to, again, the content within the technical manual. But the steering committee also serves an advisory role for any other number of aspects of the STARS program. So, for example, the sponsorship program is something that the STARS steering committee weighed in on, and it's something that we launched in late last spring, I believe. The steering committee also gives us sort of feedback that they're hearing from their colleagues and others that they work with about what they're hearing about STARS. But again, I'd say the most important role is that the steering committee is the group that approves all of the content within the STARS technical manual, as well as the STARS reporting tool. So they serve a really important function. As for partner organizations, AASHE has partnered with over 13 organizations right now over the course of the past 2 years, from before we even launched the first version of STARS through even just a few weeks ago we actually brought on a new partner organization. And the idea of these partner organizations are these are nonprofit organizations that play a role within higher education. And these are organizations that see value in the STARS program and want to support it. So these partner organizations have representation on our website as well as a page in the technical manual, and they communicate to their members about the STARS program. Some of our partner organizations are sort of focused on a specific topic within higher education. So, for example, SCUP, the Society of College and University Planners, they're founding, actually they are a founding partner. But our newest partner organizations are the Responsible Endowments Coalition, as well as the Graduation Pledge Alliance. So these are a number of different organizations, all with varying missions, but all of which really support the efforts of STARS and have, by partnering with AASHE, have committed to supporting the program moving forward. So it's been exciting to see that we have new partners coming on board, and I certainly think that next year that will continue to be the case, that we'll have others joining on. So in terms of our governance structure, it's been sort of an exciting year that we've been able to really make some headway with the organization of our technical advisors. We've appointed additional people, as well as steering committee. We had new people join at the beginning of the year, and we actually right now on Friday was the deadline for applying to be a technical advisor and a steering committee member. There were some challenges with the technical advisor application, so we've actually extended that deadline to this Friday. If any of you are interested, the information is on the STARS homepage. But it is interesting, and hopefully we'll have a lot of great applicants for those interested in being both technical advisors and steering committee members. So those appointments will likely happen at the beginning of next year. So you can look to, I guess, an announcement in January, early February as to who those new representatives are. Jillian, if you could flip to the next slide. All right, so technical development. At certain points throughout the year, it feels like this is the only thing that's happening within the STARS program, but obviously, as Jillian shared with you earlier, that's not the case. It's just a lot of our work. And actually, this slide sort of is a good one to follow the governance structure, because it sort of can demonstrate the different projects that the partner organizations, that the technical advisors, as well as the steering committee members were involved in. The beginning of last year, in early February of 2011, the STARS team launched STARS 1.1, and basically that was sort of the first what we call minor substantive change that we had incorporated since we initially launched the first version in early 2010. And the minor substantive changes basically allow us to do a little bit more changes than an administrative update. And the administrative updates can happen as often as quarterly. In fact, we only had one of them this past year, the administrative updates. And administrative updates are just that. They're making tiny tweaks within the system, fixing any errors, but the minor substantive changes, and that's, again, the shift from STARS 1.0 to STARS 1.1 or STARS 1.1 to STARS 1.2. The changes included in those might be new reporting fields, or maybe clarifying the credit criteria, things like that. So we launched STARS 1.1 at the beginning of this year, and basically since then have been working on the next major version of STARS. What we've decided is that we're putting off STARS 2.0, which will allow us to do a lot of substantial changes, like totally reorganizing some of the credits or changing scoring. Those types of changes will not happen until STARS 2.0. And what we decided with the technical advisors and the steering committee this year is that we're still a ways off from STARS 2.0, and that instead what would be best is to do another minor substantive change. So throughout this year, we've been working with the technical advisors to identify what changes would be appropriate for STARS version 1.2. Again, that's a minor substantive change, so there's tweaking of the reporting fields, or maybe of clarifying the credit criteria. Those updates will launch probably in February of next year, of 2012. And again, they'll be pretty minor, and they'll all be detailed very thoroughly on our website, and we're also going to be coordinating education around that. Webinars, the STARS update will include a lot of announcements about that, and you'll be able to see our record of changes, which details out the specific things that are different from the current version, which is STARS 1.1, Administrative Update 1, to the next version, which is STARS 1.2. In addition to this, the technical advisors have still been working on the sort of more major changes, is how we refer to them, that will be included in STARS 2.0. And I'd say at the beginning of next year, the STARS Steering Committee is hoping to share what we're calling a vision for STARS 2.0 with the AASHE community. The vision for 2.0 is a document that basically captures the various things that we're trying to achieve with this next major version of STARS, and major change, I should say. And I think what we're really trying to accomplish there is setting realistic expectations with what you'll be able to see in this STARS 2.0. STARS 2.0 will not be, it won't unfortunately be the perfect version of STARS, but I don't think there ever is going to be a perfect version of STARS. But mainly what we're trying to do is release, incorporate in STARS 2.0 some of the major improvements that we've heard from our constituents, those STARS participants that have completed the process, and that we've heard certain aspects have been problematic. So just to give you a couple of examples for those of you on the call that maybe are in the midst of going through your STARS process, what we've heard a lot of is that the education and research section is particularly problematic. To elaborate, I guess I'd say that what's been challenging on AASHE's part is that we've tried to assign metrics around an area that isn't typically measured. So how one defines what sustainability in the curriculum looks like is actually a pretty contentious issue, because I think what some institutions have found is that it's hard enough to get individuals within their institution to agree as to what that means, let alone for AASHE to try and come up with a solution to that that is going to be applicable to every institution around the U.S. and Canada. But we're certainly trying to figure out the best role for what AASHE can do and include in STARS, like what does that look like? Right now we let the institutions define what sustainability in the curriculum looks like, but essentially what we're hearing from a lot of institutions is we need more guidance. So in any event, the education and research section will hopefully provide, I'll say, more parameters in STARS version 2.0. So some of the credits might look pretty different in that next major version. Another piece that we've heard pretty consistently that is problematic for institutions is the fact that in I think it's five of the operations credits, we use a 2005 baseline. So basically we're measuring improvement or just sort of the consumption from waste, water, etc., from using a 2005 baseline to current. And a lot of institutions struggle with that because it doesn't recognize all of the conservation efforts that occurred prior to 2005. So some institutions aren't seeing as significant of a sort of point value within those credits because a lot of their work, their major work within conservation, happened prior to 2005. So that is one that we've consistently heard has, again, been problematic. And I guess what I will say is we absolutely hear you, and I think the STARS team is excited to be able to address the issue. It is something that we tried to discuss in terms of like whether it's something that we could address in a minor substantive change. But given the fact that I think it's not an exaggeration to say it's probably the most contentious issue in STARS, we felt that it's important to have a public comment period before we change the baseline issue. And basically before we move to STARS 2.0, which again would be a major change to STARS, as part of our governance structure and our technical development policy, we've committed to making sure that we're holding at least one public comment period. So that's something that's right now slated for probably late summer, early fall next year. Because even though I'm giving some specific examples of things that are going to change for STARS 2.0, we're probably not looking at a release of STARS 2.0 until mid-year 2013. And again, that sort of speaks to what I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation here, is that an effort like this, even though it just takes up one little bullet point here, it actually is going to take, I mean, no kidding aside, thousands of hours of a number of different people, from technical advisors to the steering committee to our staff, obviously, as well as those like yourselves that hopefully will provide feedback to us. So it's a really big project, but what I can say is I'm really hoping that STARS 2.0 will start to, again, significantly improve on some of the areas where we've heard a lot of concerns. Another piece is what I'll just, before we go to the next slide, again, what I'll note here is that as it relates to STARS 2.0, we always welcome feedback on the STARS system. I mean, anybody can send an email to stars@aashe.org at any point in time, and we basically collect that feedback and sort of track it to make sure that we are having a sense of what the sort of hot topics are. But again, what I'll say is that hopefully in early next year, sometime within the first quarter of next year, we'll be sharing what we're, again, calling the Vision for STARS 2.0 and asking for feedback. So the couple of issues I just articulated between the curriculum section and the baseline issue, those are just a couple of the big issues, but by no means is it that a comprehensive list. There's a number of other things that we're striving to include within STARS 2.0, and we welcome feedback specifically to make sure that we're on the right track, that we haven't forgotten anything, that there's no additional missing pieces. So again, I'll do a plug for staying tuned to the STARS Update, our monthly e-newsletter, where we'll be making those announcements about any sort of when the vision is launched and any sort of comment period that we have. All right, Jillian, we can go to the next slide. There's a little bit of a delay here, folks. Sorry. You might be seeing the next slide before I do. All right, the international pilot. So I have to say, as the program manager, looking back now here that we're almost at the end of the year, this is probably one of the most exciting things that we've done this year. Since we launched STARS 2.0, see now I'm on 2.0. Since we launched the first version of STARS in January of 2010, we've heard a lot of interest from institutions that are outside of the U.S. and outside of Canada. And basically, prior to the international pilot, we had to respond saying, I'm sorry, we cannot allow you to participate because the system really is built for those institutions within the U.S. and Canada. What one of the concerns was is that we know that even Canadian institutions right now sort of struggle with some of the credits within STARS. And we sort of do our best and have actually been really considerate, or try to be considerate about making sure that we're minimizing the challenges for Canadian institutions. But again, it's still not perfect. So what we are concerned about is all of a sudden, if we open it up to international interest, how are we going to be able to basically serve their needs and make sure that from a customer service standpoint, we have the capacity to respond to the questions? Well, in any event, after a number of different inquiries that came through from a number of different universities and from a lot of different discussions about it internally, what we decided is, well, we need to take a chance here. We need to try and figure out what is the level of interest. Like, we keep hearing from some of these institutions, but if we open up a pilot, how many institutions are actually going to complete STARS? And basically what we decided is that having a pilot is going to be the only way that we can make a more informed decision about what the role of STARS should be at the international level. I mean, I certainly think it's a possibility that the outcome is, well, STARS maybe it shouldn't play a role at the international level. What I would hope from again, my perspective is that that STARS can serve as a tool for those at the international level, but not that it doesn't necessarily meet the needs of institutions in other countries where there is another tool in existence. So I think it can be complementary to other sort of rating systems that are available or being developed, which there's not too many, but there are some out there. But in any event, we really hope that the international pilot can really provide AASHE with a level of understanding as to what are the needs of these constituents that are participating in the pilot. Can AASHE serve them? And is STARS something that can be valuable to the international community? So at this point, we just launched the pilot in October of this year, and we're actually going to make sure the registration stays open through the end of 2012. And we were very deliberate about that because our contacts at the international level are limited at this point in time. And we didn't want to just have registration open for 2 months, and then all of a sudden word starts to spread, and then there's sort of institutions are unable to participate because they're too late. So we wanted to have a really long window so that institutions can continue to register to participate throughout the next year. At this point in time, we have 7 participating institutions. To give you an idea of where they're coming from, we have Mexico represented, Chile, Australia, the UK, Japan, Malaysia, and Switzerland. So it's pretty exciting that not only are those 7 participating institutions, like that we have 7 already, and I'm excited about that, but the fact that they're each representing a different country is just really exciting. So again, what we learned from these institutions, we have yet to determine. They have a sort of, as you guys all know that have finished your STARS report or that are going through it, they have some work ahead of them. But we'll be doing some significant outreach to these institutions to make sure that we're getting as much feedback as possible about their experience, to again determine whether or not this is something that we can do past the registration date, once we conclude the registration at the end of next year, to then determine, okay, well, based on the number of people participating and what we've heard thus far, what do we want to do? And keep in mind that if we have institutions registering in December of 2012, they have a year to complete it. So this pilot really is almost 2 years long. So it's something that will be a source of sort of hopefully, again, valuable input for quite some time now. Well, let's see here. Jillian, I think we can go to the next slide. And again, I apologize, folks. There's a little bit of a delay here, so sorry about that. Switching gears, I guess, from what we have done this year to what's coming up for next year. Again, sort of the technical development stuff, that's going to be a big component. So we're going to launch STARS 1.2, which again is just a minor version, minor changes to STARS, some tweaking of the reporting fields, maybe some clarifying of the credit criteria. That will launch in probably early February. But a really important and significant piece that will be associated with this is that we've been working now with the Princeton Review, Sierra Magazine, and the Sustainable Endowments Institute for many months to try and figure out how we can reduce survey fatigue. Because we know that institutions, basically campus sustainability staff, have been really struggling with the amount of time that these surveys have taken. But they've really been looking to AASHE, who essentially serves as sort of their professional home, to address this issue. So what AASHE has done, and again, all these other organizations have been collaborating together, we've identified a number of different fields within STARS that all of these other organizations can use. And we're also going to be releasing some supplemental fields, and these are questions and topics that are not currently included in STARS, but these other organizations are interested in having that information. So STARS 1.2 will have certain little like asterisks, basically, next to the fields that are these other organizations are interested in. And then there's going to be what we call the supplemental section that'll have a couple of additional fields that these other organizations want. But then essentially, institutions will be able to go in and use STARS to basically post all of their information related to the campus sustainability, and then these other organizations are going to use the data from STARS. So there's going to be a lot more communication around this, and we're still sort of fine-tuning this and making sure that we're going to be ready to launch in early next year. Jillian and I are already working, trying to figure out the date for a webinar that we can do hopefully in January that details out the specifics of this relationship, of what we've been doing, what AASHE is launching, but more importantly, perhaps, how this affects you, what this means for changes within your day-to-day. And hopefully, what the answer is that basically this means STARS becomes sort of a one-stop shop, and you post your sustainability data there, and then basically it's something that you can determine who has access to, these other organizations, meaning. So it's a really exciting time, and again, we shared a little bit of this at the AASHE conference, so this might be a little bit repetitive to some of you on the webinar today, but again, there's a lot more detail to come. And hopefully we'll be able to schedule this webinar with the other organizations sometime in January so that we're all able to share, each one of our perspectives and why we're excited about this. But again, probably most importantly, that will include how this affects you and hopefully how this will make your lives easier. So stay tuned about that. Related to this is a data sharing tool. So essentially our IT guy, and for those of you IT folks on the line here, IT savvy perhaps, we're creating what's called an API, and the API essentially is going to be a vehicle that enables AASHE to easily share STARS data with others. Now, who the others are, that sort of remains to be seen. Other than the three organizations I just mentioned, Sierra Magazine, Princeton Review, and the Sustainable Endowments Institute, we've received a number of other inquiries from various organizations and publications that want the STARS data. So what we're trying to figure out is a user-friendly way to be able to share that data. But what I will absolutely underscore here is that along with this data sharing tool will be very specific agreements as to what organizations and institutions, what they have access to, what the data should be used for, what the data should not be used for, etc. So again, this is a priority for next year, meaning we haven't figured all of that out yet. But one of the most important pieces is that we want to make sure that institutions are comfortable with how their data is being used. So that's certainly a priority of AASHE's, but it's a pretty exciting tool because I think, again, it sort of opens up a lot of opportunity even for institutions to be able to decide, ooh, well, where do you want to share your data with? Who do you want to share your data with, I should say. So again, stay tuned for much more information about the data sharing tool, otherwise known as the API. Another piece here, for those of you that might remember, this past spring we launched our first STARS annual review. And it essentially was sort of a snapshot of everything from the first year of STARS existence and the first round of submissions. What we decided, because as some of you probably know, STARS registration and submission happens on an ongoing basis. So we felt like, well, just doing a publication once a year, it doesn't really capture everything that's happening on a regular basis throughout STARS. So what we decided to do for 2012 is to basically break it up into doing quarterly reviews. So each quarter next year we're going to release a publication that gives a snapshot of the STARS submissions, what we're learning from the data, and basically tells a few different stories highlighting whatever is really interesting from the data that we're learning. So we're excited about that and feel like it's going to be a great opportunity to sort of stay on top of what we're learning from the data. So that's really something to look forward to. In terms of the other pieces here, like other priorities to think about for next year, I'll say that our governance structure, again, we're probably going to be doing more sort of calls for technical advisors as well as steering committee members potentially throughout maybe mid-year next year. Definitely, as Jillian mentioned earlier, 2011 we were represented at a number of different conferences, and that's certainly a priority for next year as well, to have a STARS session, if an overall AASHE presence at a number of different conferences happening throughout the country. And then again, in terms of hot topics that the steering committee and likely our larger community will address, verification. This is something that's come up for a while now, whether STARS information should be verified by some other body. AASHE does not verify the information. STARS is a self-assessment. But we're hearing not only do institutions need resources to do better internal verification, but in addition to that, should we do some sort of third party or some type of peer verification system? It's come up for a while. Last February, the steering committee discussed a proposal about it, and they basically determined we need to wait. We need to wait and see what we're hearing from STARS participants. But with the 130 plus submissions that we've received, we have heard from our participants that this is something that they're interested in having, in some type of verification. So what this looks like, I'm really not sure. There's a number of different models out there, but clearly it has an impact on not only potential budget impact, but also staff time. So there's a number of different things we need to figure out there, but in terms of topics, I would imagine that this will continue to be a hot topic and something that is discussed not only within our governance structure, but also something that we really tap our community to try and get a sense of what type of verification system would be something that seems comfortable and really attractive to you all. So with that, I would love to actually turn things over, and if you guys want to submit, it seems like there's already been a number of different questions that have come in. So I'm going to pass things back to Jillian here, and then we will try and get to as many questions as possible. But as I think Jillian mentioned at the beginning, if we do run out of time, we can definitely follow up with you any questions offline. So Jillian, I'll hand it back to you.
Great. Great, thanks Megan. That was a really good overview of what we've been working on and where we're headed in the future. So again, as Megan mentioned, you can submit your questions at any time by typing them into the questions pane and we will answer them. So we'll get started with the first one. Megan, I'm going to direct this one at you since you talked a little bit about the 2005 baseline. An institution is saying that since 2005, we've greatly improved our tracking in these areas, the areas of the technical manual we're asking for 2005 baseline. Will there be an option for comparing to a different baseline year or another option for achieving credit in these areas where we are doing well but don't have good data for our 2005 baseline specifically?
The easy answer is yes, but obviously there's much more detail that's really required there. What I can say is, again, this is the hot topic for what needs to change within STARS 2.0. And because there's been so many different ideas around how to address this baseline issue, it's likely something that we'll be including in the public comment period that will happen at some point next year, because there's a lot of different people with several different ideas about how to address this. So I think what we really need is a better sense from the community as a whole as to what they feel is the best solution. So I can say that yes, the baseline issue will be different in STARS 2.0 to try and basically acknowledge that there's many institutions that have significant achievement from prior to 2005. But how we're actually going to do that, I'm just not sure yet, because there's a number of different ideas on the table. But if you do have specific suggestions, I would encourage you to definitely send an email to stars@aashe.org. And again, once we do hold a public comment period, to certainly voice your thoughts there as well.
Great, thanks. I'm going to direct this next question at you as well. From a technological and logistics standpoint, how difficult will it be for institutions to go from using STARS 1.1 to STARS 1.2?
The question that started out was from a technical standpoint? Like, I guess I'm just not sure. So technical meaning?
So I believe in the STARS reporting tool, if you're moving from one version of STARS to another, how hard is that?
Gotcha. So essentially, all institutions that are currently registered under STARS 1.1 will have the option of migrating your data so that it appears in STARS 1.2. And from a technical standpoint, basically and it's not even a challenge, the only issue is that there's going to be some new reporting fields in STARS 1.2 that are blank, basically, that are not in 1.1. So if you migrate your data to STARS 1.2, which is not a requirement, but if you migrate your data to STARS 1.2, basically that just means that you're going to have to go through and probably complete a couple of fields. There's only a few new required fields in STARS 1.2, but there's basically the short answer is that there would just be a couple of blanks that if you wanted, you would need to go back and fill out. But it's going to be pretty easy from a technical standpoint, switching from STARS 1.1 to 1.2. And again, that's certainly something that if you had any questions, we could certainly help you through that process. But the data migration process and that tool we've been using that now for a year. Basically, as soon as we launch STARS 1.2, any institution that registers will be registered under 1.2. But again, if you're registered right now under STARS 1.1, you'll have the option. It will not be required. You'll have the option of updating or migrating your data to STARS 1.2. So hopefully that answers your question.
Great, thanks. I can take the next one, which is please clarify or let us know if there are instructions on the website for how we continue to report now that we've submitted and gotten our STARS rating. Essentially, if institutions would like to continue documenting data in the STARS reporting tool, they are welcome to do so. Institutions that complete their STARS report, if they do so by their submission deadline and then no longer have access to the reporting tool, have an option to renew their participation with STARS. And to do that, they simply re-register through the STARS website. If the institution renews its participation with STARS within 90 days of losing access to the STARS reporting tool initially, then it can renew at a 50% discount. So that would be, the original costs are $900 for AASHE members and $1,400 for non-members. But if you renew in that 50% discounted window, it's $450 for AASHE members and then $700 for non-members. So essentially, if your institution does decide to renew its participation with STARS, what it will gain is 12 more months of continual access to the reporting tool. And I say continual because institutions are allowed essentially to submit a new STARS report as often as annually. So since you have your inaugural STARS report completed and you have earned that STARS rating, if you renew, and you get that 12 more months of access to the reporting tool. Say you take 6 months, update a lot of information in the tool, and then decide you want to submit that information in a new STARS report because maybe you've gone from a bronze to a silver rating and you want to highlight that. If it does take you 6 months, then you would submit your STARS report, and then you would still have 6 more months of access to the STARS reporting tool. So you can continue to keep your data up to date in the tool, sort of behind the scenes. No one will be able to see the data that you've submitted in the tool unless you share it publicly through a STARS report. And then once that 12 months of access has expired, you do again have the opportunity to renew, and if you do that within the 90 days of your deadline, you can also take advantage of an additional 50% discount. So I hope that answers your question. And Megan, I'm not sure if you want to add anything else to that.
I don't think so. I think you covered it.
Oh, you might be on mute, Megan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think I was. I just said I think you covered it. Did you hear me, Jillian?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yep.
So you heard me say that you covered it?
Oh, sorry. I must be going in and out of all.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. Thanks. Good. I thought I had that one covered. The next question. Let's see here. I'll divert to you again on this, Megan. When does AASHE anticipate launching STARS 2.0?
Yeah. Well, no one can hold me accountable for this, but I would say definitely it's 2013, no sooner than 2013, and my best guess right now is maybe mid-year. We have sort of a very loose timeline that we will be releasing along with the STARS 2.0 vision in early next year, but there's a number of different variables that can impact the timeline. So whether it's how long the public comment period takes, or how many comments begin the public comment period, or steering committee approval, there's just a number of things that could, again, impact the timeline. But I would say mid-year 2013 is my guess, my best guess.
Okay, sounds good. Those are all the questions that I have and all the questions that have come in from the audience. And I know that we are about 10 minutes before the hour. So Megan, is there anything else you want to share? We can see if any last-minute questions come in.
There actually is just one other that came in, and it basically was a question about who else we might be working with aside from like Princeton Review on sort of data collection efforts. And it's actually a really good question because, again, I think there's a lot of possibility for helping institutions streamline reporting as it relates to campus sustainability in a number of different fronts. So the, I guess, additional organizations we're working with and will be continue working with next year include the Second Nature on the ACU PCC, tracking and sort of reporting, working with them to try and make sure that we're streamlining as much as possible. We're also going to be working with Clean Air Cool Planet on their tool, and the question here lists Cool Schools. The Sierra Magazine, who puts out the Cool Schools list, is already an organization we're working with. So the idea is that we're really trying to work with as many people to streamline reporting, to make this as easy as possible. And I do think that API, the data sharing tool, will really be a big step forward in helping basically enabling AASHE to do that sooner. So yes, look for in 2012 a lot more hopefully streamlined reporting and collaborations with other organizations like who did I say, Second Nature, as well as Clean Air Cool Planet.
Great, thanks. Thanks for bringing up that last question.
Sure.
Well, I guess this is a good time to wrap it up. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We will be continuing with our webinars next year. We haven't set a specific date yet for January. Probably be later in the month, either the 24th or 31st. and the details of that webinar will be on our website soon. Also, the information from this broadcast will be available on our website probably within the next week or so. And we just want to say thanks to everyone for tuning in, and also happy holidays. We hope you have a great holiday season and a safe and prosperous new year. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.